Yum Dude here with another Kitchen Essentials video. Today I am talking about the food sealer. This is also part of my Sous Vide series. Now, you can bag your sous vide in a number of ways. There are reusable bags, I believe. There are disposable bags and all kinds of products out there that you can use, but the absolute best way, in my opinion, to do sous vide is through a food vacuum sealed bag, and to me that is just going to yield the best results. Now, you may not be able to afford a machine right now, and if that's the case, use what you can as long as the plastic is food safe. And oftentimes the meat counter or the butcher may be able to vacuum seal your meat when you buy it, and that is also an option. But I think the way to go, if you're going to be sous videing often, as I do, is to invest in a food sealer. It really is useful for quite a few things. Anything stored in it will stay fresher longer in the freezer. It is going to come out tasting fresher, and it is just going to be a much nicer experience. Of course, I only have a regular freezer. If I had a blast chiller or blast freezer, then the experience would probably be even better, but that is a really expensive piece of equipment and probably not necessary or essential. So food sealer, definitely nice to have. Could be essential if you do a lot of sous vide, if you're striving for perfection, and definitely nice to have. Now, there are many makes and models of food sealers out there. As always, I buy all of my gadgets on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day, or large sales if possible. I picked this one up on Boxing Day, and I have not regretted my purchase. So there are many makes and models. I'm going to put a little subtitle in the video with this one. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of the company. I chose this one because it was on a good sale, and it draws 90 kilopascals of vacuum, which is 10 or 20 more than the competition, was similarly or more inexpensively priced, and importantly, had many positive ratings and 5-star reviews. I was able to read those and determine that this was probably the best machine to meet my needs. All right, so let's look at the machine. The machine itself is fairly simple to operate. There are not a lot of buttons and lights. You have two settings. One is for dry and one is for moist food. One sets the pressure, normal or gentle. You have two lights which show whether, and buttons that show whether it's going to be sealing. So that's sealing without a strong vacuum. And then you have vac and seal, which does the vacuum and the seal, and a stop button. So that's all you really need. It's quite a simple machine, and we'll talk about how it's used. So there's two buttons on the side. You push those in, you open the lid, and you have a little suction reservoir here. That's where it does all the air sucking. There's a foam gasket around there that creates vacuum seal. And there's a strip here which you should not touch when the unit is in operation. That gets hot and does the sealing. Generally speaking, don't touch that strip. So that's all there is to the sealer. This one has one other nice feature. If I tilt it up, I can pull a little implement out the back. It is just a teeny weeny little blade in a piece of plastic, and it is perfect for cutting your bag. So let's talk about the bags real quick. You get a roll of basically tube, which becomes your vacuum seal bags. Comes usually in 8-inch width and 11-inch width. This is the 11, which is kind of better for roasts and things like that, but try to use the smallest bag you can. And the rolls are fairly economical way to make a lot of bags. So you can also buy bags that are pre-made. They're sealed for you on 3 sides already. You just put in your stuff, stick it in the sealer, and you're good to go. That is an option as well, but really it's not going to be as economical, and you know, there's really no point because it's so easy to use your own bags. So let's just show you what that looks like. You take a piece of roll and you try to guesstimate how big to make the roll depending on the food that you're cooking, and then you cut the bag. And since I'm doing this on camera and it's a little awkward, I am just going to butcher this, but somehow we made it through. It is not an even cut or a pretty cut, but it really doesn't matter. So now we basically just have a tube, and we'll turn this into a bag. First thing I'm going to do is open up the sealer. Just going to stick this in here carefully, make sure it's straight and centered, and close the lid until I hear it click on both sides. That means it's tightly sealed, and I'm just going to hit the seal button. And the light comes on, and the sealing strip will heat up, and the machine will do a little bit of a vacuum pull. I don't know why the machine does that. It doesn't need to, but it doesn't mean anything. Once the seal light has turned off, open up your bagger, and as you can see, it has sealed the bottom of the bag. Really doesn't matter that I did a rubbish cutting job. Normally, you know, when you're not doing it on camera, it's a lot easier. So now you have a bag. You put your food item in there, and things to note. My fake food item should be as dry as possible. So whatever I'm putting in there, I don't want it to be very, very moist, because when I seal it, this thing is going to want to suck the moisture up. If it comes past the line where it heats up, that's going to be a problem. If liquid gets sucked into the guts of the machine, I'm guessing that's going to be a problem. Somehow I've avoided getting significant amount of gunk in there so far, but it's not necessarily easy to do. And it does have a dry and moist setting, but you know, when you're pulling a normal vacuum, you know, so you might want to be dry and gentle, but you're not going to get as strong a vacuum. So if you want a strong vacuum, put drier stuff in there, definitely not a ton of liquids, and you're good to go. So of note, if your food item is very squishy, if it's like a strawberry, it's fluffy, if it's cotton candy, when it gets vacuum sealed, that will compress, and you will probably not have the same texture when you're done. Things can get really squished. However, there are some recipes for compressed cucumber, compressed strawberries, things like that, and we'll do some videos on that. And there are cases where you can actually really bring out the flavor of certain things by subjecting them to a vacuum, and we'll talk about that in the appropriate videos. For now, the trick is to get your food item, get it reasonably dry, get it reasonably centered, should fit nicely in the bag. Now, this bag is way too big for my food item, and it's going to take a bit of a learning curve to figure out how much to cut so you can just get the end of the bag into this kind of trough here. Carefully close the machine over that so that it's sitting and centered. Click it closed and make sure that it seals nicely. So I'm just going to seal this. It's going to be a little bit noisy. You'll see how it goes. And it's pulling the air out. Okay, the seal light is still on, so I'm just going to wait for that to turn off. And it turned off. Now I can open this up, and I have a perfectly sealed yellow thing. So, things to note. There are still some air pockets in here. The plastic could only conform to this shape so well. So, while not maybe an absolutely perfect seal, this is pretty close. And in real life, a lot of the times, that's the best you can hope for. If your food fills up the bag a lot and there's not room for the air to get out from behind the object into the front, you will still end up with a few air bubbles, air pockets, and it will take a little bit of trial and error, a bit of experimentation, and a bit of luck to figure it out, but definitely not that hard and definitely worth having. So if I was going to sous vide this is now sort of perfectly arranged for me. I just stick this into my water bath, sous vide it. If I'm not going to be sous viding, this is just ready to go into the freezer or even the fridge, and anything that, you know, goes bad when it has air exposed to it, oxidizes, that's a perfect candidate. So that in a nutshell is the food sealer. And again, it is not a kitchen essential, but very, very nice to have if you're preserving a lot of food, if you have a lot of leftovers, if you're making sous vide, if you want to maximize freshness and flavor and all those good things. Please like and subscribe. You can find me on yumdo.tube, here on YouTube, Reddit, X, TikTok, and other fine internet establishments. And I will see you next time.